Everybody, you are on Set the Pipe. You're with CK, Bear, and myself, Sully. And there is a ton going on right now in volleyball. And I think the biggest news, quite honestly, is the legendary Nebraska head coach, John Cook, stepping down and retiring. And his record is amazing. Have you guys looked into this at all? I mean, it's spectacular.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think what we should do is put his speech in that he gave today and gave a heartfelt, thank you in so many ways. What he's done for volleyball, the tree of coaches that he's produced.
Amazing.
It's been incredible. And to see the growth of women's volleyball from when he started to where it is today, he should be proud of that. I think like I said earlier when we started this thing, it's keeping about the stories and what volleyball means to a lot, and he means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories I'm sure he hasn't told that he would love to tell that he really can't tell, but now he can, right? So give him a couple months. I wouldn't mind tracking him down. But 4 NCAA championships, he made 8 national finals, 12 national semifinals, 14 conference championships. He was at Nebraska for 25 years, coaching 66 All-Americans, and then 8-time Conference Coach of the Year, 3-time NCAA Coach of the Year. He was also the Wisconsin head coach for 7 years before he took over at Nebraska. Don't know if you guys knew this. He was the San Diego guy. He actually went to USD, right?
No
Became
idea.
a teacher and got his master's in 91, 92 at San Diego State. So Southern California guy, goes all the way out to the Midwest and just had a legendary career.
What he did. Dominated.
Legendary career.
Did he play at all? Do we know if he played?
Yeah, not that I know of. No, I think what happened was he was a teacher that was forced to coach 3 sports, and volleyball was one of them. And it sounds like the person that he is just really dug deep into it and got really good at it. And that's how it all started.
So, Bear, we're talking about Cook. Let's talk about you. How'd your match go this week? I mean, we're talking about legendary coaches.
Legendary.
Let's talk about your match. How'd it go?
Love that you brought that up, Coley. Thanks. We had a trip up to Santa Barbara and Santa Barbara City, and pretty strong team up there. We went down in 3, but the scores were decent. The second game we didn't play too well. The third set though, we lost 30-28. So almost pushed it 4. And actually, I was really happy with the way my guys played. We're very young this year, all freshmen except 2 returners. And I'm looking forward to some good things from these guys. Even though we're a little young, they're scrappy. They get on the floor, and they communicate well. And I like coaching this squad for sure. I didn't hear you.
Is the effort good out there?
Yeah. Like, I kind of still have the philosophy like Delhi. We don't let a ball drop without getting on the floor. And, offense wins games, but defense wins championships. So we focus a lot on defense. And if we side out, they can't win. So we sided out okay. Our passing broke down a little bit, but I like their grit, and I like how scrappy they are.
Well, what I love, again, talking about this and listening about John Cook, I'm sure there's been many teams where he started with young kids and got beat up, and 2-3 years later they're winning national championships or conference championships, and you have young guys, but you get to go to Santa Barbara. Freebirds, not Freebirds. Where'd you guys take them for some food? Did you guys get to
Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A,
It
wow.
was Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out, and a couple of the guys already had In-N-Out that day. They're eating real healthy, so we decided to go to Chick-fil-A. So,
well,
awesome.
Since we're talking about that, I got to bring up one thing because I like to talk about me. But this past week, my we talk about learning, your team getting young and whatever. So last Friday night, my kid, we had a big basketball game at the school, playing top 15 team in the country, the leader in our league. They've been great. They're still great. Got a couple NBA kids on the team that will be NBA kids, and just really well-coached program. And we lost at home, and he was terrible. I'll rephrase that. He didn't truly compete, and he wasn't happy. We weren't, it's not about being happy, just, something he had to learn. Well, he had a whole weekend to think, like you were just talking about, your kids are young, you did what you said. So on Monday night, we played the same team again. Number 15 in the country, number 3 in the state. And he was unbelievable. He had 6 of 8 shooting, 5 from 7 from 3. But the most important was he hit the shot at the buzzer to win it.
Buzzer beater, baby.
Wanted the ball, expected to make the shot. And I was just proud of him. And I wanted to give him a shout out on here for that, for not caving in, learning from your mistakes, growing from failing. People don't let people fail anymore. And he failed. and like what I say failed in the grand scheme of measuring yourself for where you expect to be and what he wants to be and what people, his teammates and everything. And so for him, it was a learning experience and he turned it from it. And, so just made me think about your guys, Bear, like, they're young, they're freshmen, they're, the season just started. You're playing on the road at Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara City's always awesome, right? They're always a good program and gives them a chance to get beat, be humbled, realize what they've got in front of them and where they need to get to. I can't wait to have this conversation with you in 2 or 3 months when you play them again.
It was, a little humbling up there, but when we came back yesterday, we had a great film session and we got after it in practice yesterday. And I really liked that because, a couple things could happen after a loss. You start hanging your head and kicking rocks or whatever and kind of feeling sorry for yourself. But they went after it. They wanted to get better yesterday, and we had another good practice today, and we have more park tomorrow at home. So we'll see how that goes.
Awesome. Hey, Coley, do you know who took over Nebraska already? They already have a head coach.
Of course they do. Person was coaching at Louisville not too long
That's
ago.
right.
Yeah.
Who had the
It's Danny Bushboom Kelly, and I she played there. She won a national championship at Nebraska. I think there's maybe not anyone more deserving, and it's a great story. I'm excited to see what she does there. She's done a fabulous job at Louisville. She was an assistant coach at Tennessee. I'm excited to see, how the landscape of women's volleyball changes with someone such a behemoth of Cook, retiring. He's up there as one of the greats of all time in all of coaching, but for women's volleyball for sure in the collegiate level. And it's hard to get to where he got to. I mean, you said 4 national championships, 8 national finals, 12 national semifinals. That's 12 Final Fours. Like, that's fine. That's going to the Final Four. Like my kid made it. We talked about that, but trying to watch a team go to the Final Four is so hard. He went 12 times.
And
12,
he
12 out of
coached
25.
for 25 years. Yeah. I mean, that's half the time he's going to the Final Four.
Yeah. That's
amazing.
Jared Elliott in Texas is trying to catch him in that regard. But like, John Cook is just, like you said, he's up there, and it's a sad day for volleyball, but it's a wonderful day for volleyball. It's a wonderful day to rejoice in the career and what he's done for volleyball. And it's also, and it's sad to lose someone like that to coaching that wants to, move on to bigger and better things. And so, I'd like to say thank you, Coach Cook. Thank you for all you've done for volleyball.
And to produce all those assistant coaches that became head coaches, and Danny was one of them. I mean, Danny was an assistant at Tennessee, then she went to Louisville for a little bit, and she went back to Nebraska for 5 seasons, right? Then took a chance on herself, to be quite honest, to say, hey, Louisville wasn't a powerhouse. They really weren't. And then she takes them to where she's taken them. Amazing. So I think Nebraska got a great get. And for the most part, she's coming home, and a lot of people don't necessarily like to come home. You know what I mean? It's a lot of pressure.
Well, look who you're following. That's the other thing. It's not just coming home. I mean, you're coming home to follow a legend, a living legend.
Yeah.
And she was making a legacy at Louisville.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? So she could have stuck there and been the queen bee forever, and she went back to her roots. I mean, I think she was a setter before she came to stud libero, by the way, as a player, and then won the Natty. So, so impressive. And then you have Dan Meske, who was her assistant coach, associate head coach, I believe, and he was an Ohio State guy. He played. And now he's the head coach at Louisville. So I think, two replacements, pretty strong what Nebraska did, and Louisville been able to keep Dan. I think it's going to be pretty exciting in the future.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about some of the lineage from Cook. The new women's U.S. national head coach for volleyball is Eric Sullivan.
Yep.
He's been at Texas for a long time, but he was at Nebraska for a while as well.
Tyler Hildebrand was
Tyler
there.
Hildebrand. Head coach at Long Beach, was at SC. Now he's the head coach at St. Mary's. He's coached some USA Beach. Again, coached with Cook for a long time. There's so many more, I'm sure, that we're not even talking about of who he does. It just kind of reminds me of like when you're watching a football game on the weekend and they talk about someone like Bill Parcells or or Walsh from San Francisco, and then you're looking at all these coaches and you're looking at Andy Reid. He comes from that Walsh tree, right? And you look at all these coaches, these young great coaches that are doing such an amazing job. Again, Eric Sullivan's now the U.S. women's national team coach. He sat under Cook and Elliott, working with 2 of the best and helping them both be successful. And, he's learned from the best. And like I said, it's pretty exciting and also sad at the same time.
With
Yeah, I
Eric
mean-
Sullivan, wasn't he played in what, 2, maybe 3 Olympics? Any idea how many Olympics he played?
Eric was the first libero, right? Ever?
Yeah,
For
I believe it
our
was
Olympic
3
team during
Olympics.
that time.
I believe it was 3.
He was in Atlanta for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, he's had an amazing career. We need to get him on here talking about everything from him playing to being a dad to being a coach and now being the head coach of the United States women's national team.
I can't believe you guys haven't brought up his biggest highlight ever. I mean, he
Being
played with
bagel by long.
A6 Paul Mitchell, baby. I mean, he was one of us.
Yes, he was, and he, like I said earlier, he dropped his hands against a team and got me hit right in the face at left back. Turned around and said, "Oh, sorry, bud. Like, no worries. I'm seeing stars. It's great. Thanks, bud. Thanks, Sully. Appreciate it." Yeah, him and I have some great stories, and I'll wait for him.
Right. We got to wait for those for sure,
and talk to him. But yeah, it's the whole thing, and there's so much going on in college sports, right? Like you could talk about from just a year and a half ago, Nick Saban just retired. Coach at Miami for basketball just retired. There's a lot of young up and coming coaches that are thriving and excited and understands this new environment. There's other coaches that, I'm not saying that's, and there's other coaches that are looking at this environment and aren't happy with it and maybe don't want to be a part of it. Either way, college sports is awesome. And there's so many amazing teachers and coaches. And I would bet if you were to talk to the majority, if not all the people that played for Coach John Cook, it's more than volleyball, right? He's been a mentor. He's been probably a parent. He's probably been a friend. He's been, I could probably go on forever. And so there's probably so many that are just indebted in so many different ways. And that's why I love college sports, because, you still have young men and women, they're teenagers and then they're growing up into being in their early 20s. And, you're in that gym, you're on that field, you're on the court, you're there with your coach and your team the majority of the time while you're in college when you're not studying for your classes. And to have someone like that who, means a lot to the people that played for him more than just the X's and O's of volleyball is, like I said, I think that's what will always keep college sports unique, even though there's some changes. No matter what, you're still going to have some amazing coaches today, tomorrow, and in the future, like you did in the past.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about coaching, though. You get to teach life skills to these kids,
And
if you're not, just you need to get out. X's and O's. What's that, Sully?
In my opinion, if you're not, you need to get out. So his retirement press conference today was pretty touching. And he named his daughter, who actually went to UCLA right out of high school. He was NCAA freshman of the year. Don't know if you guys knew that. Transferred back to Nebraska, and she's on her second grandkid for John Cook. So he's said, missed, you guys know when you guys do college coaching, it takes up a ton of your time, and missed some big moments, I think, in his kids, and he doesn't want to do that with his grandkids. He wants to be around. So pretty respectable decision. Absolutely.
And again, I understand, we all played sports and you just want to keep being the best. And, I commend that, you only get one life and it's short. And as I keep getting older, it keeps getting shorter.
Yes, it does.
That's all I want to do, is spend time with my friends and family. And so again, my hat goes off to him, and I wish him nothing but the best. And I think volleyball, will as well.
Yeah. So before this podcast, actually, we did our interview already. That's going to be here at launch pretty soon after this one. And I was in Park City, Utah when we tried to do this, and the internet connection was awful. And so the audio wasn't great, but the interview was outstanding. But I also ran into some people. We talk about our world so small, and I'll probably bring it up almost every podcast, is my kids are so tired of me going places, and I run into people that I know through volleyball, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so we're literally walking down the street trying to find a place to eat, because it's during the Sundance Festival. So it's packed, right? So we see this Irish pub, Flanagan's, and I said,
"Been there, awesome."
Yeah, my wife's like, "Hey, why don't we go there? It's Irish pub." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm starving. Let's just go." So we randomly walk in. I had a Long Beach State a jacket on, and some guy walks by and goes, "Long Beach State volleyball?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, do you know Mike D'Alessandro?" I looked at him. I'm like, yeah, he was my assistant coach when I played. He goes, oh yeah, we were roommates when we were in San Diego back in the day. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And the funny thing was, is I'm like, told my wife, I'm like, hey, why don't you grab a picture of us? And so we grab a picture, but remember, we're in Sundance Festival. So whoever's taking a picture, somebody must be somebody, right? So I got my arm around JK, and everybody in that restaurant just turns around and looks at us. And my wife had no idea, but so I must have, they were trying to figure out who I was or who he was. But nonetheless, great conversation with them, and really shouted out some big love for Pestalacci and Sorelli, and especially Biggs, right? Mike D'Alessandro, and got hold of him right away. And I just couldn't believe how small the world was. And then the next night when we're trying to go back to the hotel, somebody heard I was from Long Beach, and they're like, oh, so do you know this person and this person? I'm like, oh yeah, I know this person. No, so what about last name Bailey? I'm like, oh yeah, it's Dan Bailey's son. Oh my gosh. And my wife, this is the first time in 25 years that my wife pulled me out of a restaurant or a bar. I'm usually like, baby, let's go. Like, we got to go. I'm freaking tired. Let's go. She's like, yeah, let's go. Or else we would have just kept talking. But man, I got to tell you, I'm sure it happens to you, Cole, Bear. I'm sure it happens to you. Everywhere you guys go, you guys have got to run into people. And I thought it was amazing. But the whole thing was, I was in Park City, and the podcast is, it's a little bit clippy on the audio, but did you guys want to announce who we had on that podcast?
I think you should, because I'll tell you, for me, is the first time even talking with her, and her spirit is so infectious. And I was so blown away just from the conversation, just her story, the true love she has for this sport that we're talking about, right? So yeah, I think you should announce it, and I think I think the audio was a little bit of a struggle, and that's why we're here learning, but regardless, hers is not.
No,
and
it was just mine.
It's worth listening to everything she has to say.
Yeah. So go ahead, Bear.
Well, yeah, Jaidyn Blanchfield. And you know what? She seems so down to earth, so grounded, and her story was wonderful. What you mean to her and how you've helped her through the years and stuff was just unbelievable. And it's a podcast or a show you can't miss. I mean, it was great.
It was amazing, because beforehand, we kind of prep, I guess, for a podcast. I mean,
if that's what you call it.
I mean, we're
professionals.
Right,
we're professionals.
we are professionals.
3 minutes before, like, hey, you do this. Oh, we got it.
We got it.
Sound
no
great.
problem. Bear asked. He goes, I said, Bear, yeah, you hosted us for he goes, dude, it was only a day. She's not gonna remember that. And to see her eyes when she lit up about, oh my gosh, I totally remember. It was one of the best. You know what I mean? And it was once I listened to it again, it was just a great podcast to listen, especially for those underdogs out there that people question, and I can't do it, or these people aren't going to help me. You've got to listen to this.
You do. And it's all about self-belief. And obviously the other thing that Bear just mentioned, it also helps when, you find someone on both sides of it that care. And she was lucky to find you. You were lucky to find her. And, obviously the rest is history, and everyone can hear it. But it's a must listen to. And it's just what we want. We want to tell stories. That's what we talked about. That's what you said right from the beginning. And this is a story that needs to be told. It's a story about, like you said, the underdog and someone that just loves the sport. And it's not just about stories of some of us old guys playing and, playing here, playing there. It's and just being informative about the LOVB or NCAA volleyball or high school or, club. And we're going to do all that. But we want to tell stories that matter and things that resonate with the 9-year-old young girl that's trying to play volleyball to the 25-year-old guy that's already graduated from college and is playing over in Europe, or has stopped playing and is just playing with his friends down at the beach on the weekend. We want it to resonate with everyone. We want to tell stories for everyone, because this game and this sport is for everyone. It really is. And so, I can't wait for everyone to hear it.
Yeah, I've got a couple of texts. I don't know about you guys, but they're just like, keep it coming. You guys are doing great. Keep it coming. So, we're just starting out, which is fantastic. But what led me to the whole Park City is not only the podcast for Jaidyn, but the men's game came up quite a bit. It was kind of interesting. And so I started thinking, I'm like, how many men's teams are out there right now? Because when we played, it was Division I, and there was 16 teams?
Maybe.
And so when I was looking up, it was, have some stats here, but there's 74 announced teams for Division 1 and Division 2. So 31 now in Division 1, 43 in Division 2, 8 conferences, and then 15 teams are still independent. They're not even in a conference yet. Then you go down to Division 3. There's 133 announced men's teams that didn't exist.
Yeah.
It didn't exist.
I mean, I was looking, I live out in Southern California, as you know, Cal Lutheran University.
Yeah.
They have a program. They're like top 10, 15 in the country.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredible. I mean, it's just, again, it shows the growth of volleyball. Like when we played, one of my junior years or my senior year, I had just played club for the first time. I told the story when I was with Marvin Hall. So in the fall of my senior year, fall boys volleyball back then is nothing like it is right now. So, you know, there's these big tournaments. We would like show up at a high school gym. There's 4 teams. We'd be taking our shirt off, getting it wet, mopping the floor so we weren't slipping on dust, and just playing. I mean, that's literally how it was. But it was awesome. And now I look now, you know, I'm looking at the rankings right now, and like Grand Canyon, they've been great, but they're 11th, right? Grand Canyon didn't even have many sports.
No,
yeah, I mean, it was a small little college at Prescott, Arizona is where it started, and then it went, you know, into Phoenix, and their sports are amazing. The school's amazing, but it's just it's a men's volleyball program at Grand Canyon that's just out of the top 10. Right. I mean, you know,
Final Four last year, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Long Beach State, insane. You know, your 49ers are 1, Irvine's 2, UCLA's 3. This weekend in men's volleyball, which is, there's so many good and bad things which we keep saying we're going to talk about the new era of college sports, but like the Big Ten with UCLA and SC in it, there's some great things with it and some bad things with it. I'm sure you already heard someone like Mick Cronin talked about the travel, and that's been a tough, but like for men's volleyball this weekend in Ohio State, there's a Big Ten. It's just the conference volleyball, not festival, but showdown. It's USC and UCLA are going out to Ohio State, and Penn State's coming to Ohio State. So you have Penn State, Ohio State, you know, and so SC's, 6 in the country, UCLA's 2 in the country, Ohio State's, 13 in the country, and Penn State's 17 in the country. So you have, 4 top 20 teams just, ascending into Columbus to play in a Big Ten league championship for men's volleyball. I mean, the Big Ten having volleyball, come on.
Right. I mean, I know,
it's awesome.
It even goes down to NAIA. So NAIA has 71 teams, right? And JUCO, Bear, in your world, there's 31 announced.
Well, we have, for men, we have 16 right now.
Yeah, that's just California. We're all talking the country.
We're talking the whole country. So you got 31. That's just announced. So that means, today it could be 26, but they've announced for the next couple of years, 5 more coming on board. So, I mean, I'm not going to do the math here, but we're talking 300 teams now in all divisions combined for men's volleyball. That is amazing.
It's amazing. What scares me is what's happening with college sports and what will happen with funding and as all these teams. But I've also got to think that a lot of these programs have done it on their own, right?
Well, yeah. Well, they
don't
used
know
to be
for sure because I know when we were at Northridge, I mean, the way we funded our program or some of the funds for our program is John Price set up grass tournaments and the players would work the grass tournaments. Like I'm a college athlete getting up at 6:30 in the morning on a weekend so we could set up grass volleyball nets on a grass court so people could pay and we could get the money to help our funding for gear or for travel. Could you imagine college athletes doing that today?
Oh yeah, no. Hey, so Coley, your senior year was BYU. Were they Division I or were they still club?
They my freshman year was the last year they were a club team.
Okay.
We still played up there. I played up there 3 out of my 4 years because then they changed the league. I loved playing up there. I love their fans. I usually always won there. I loved it, and it was a fun place to play. I love Utah, so Provo's beautiful, Salt Lake City's beautiful. But yeah, they've done nothing but great things. And even when they were a club team, when you were playing, because you're a couple of years older than me, and before that, they still were really good. They'd get some international players, some Puerto Ricans, some really good. And so then they deserve to be D1, and they've won a couple titles, and they do such a great job up there.
Yeah, for sure. So Bear, when you compete, is it only just California, or will you compete against other JCs across the country?
Yeah, it's just California for us right now. Basically, it's from Santa Barbara down to San Diego, and we just restructured the league this year. We went basically, before there was two conferences, like a North Conference and a South Conference, or region, I guess you could say. And this year, everybody plays everybody. So everybody,
all 16 teams?
All 16 teams. So
wow.
how it works is everybody in the South region and North region play each other one time. It's a crossover match. You switch every other year. So like next year, Santa Barbara will play at our place since we played them. Yep. And then we'll play everybody in their own region. The North or South region plays everybody twice, home and away.
So you'll play Pierce, for an example, twice.
Yeah, we play Pierce. No, we'll only play Pierce once because we're the northern team in the southern region.
So you got Grossmont and San Diego schools. You'll play them twice, right?
Yeah, we'll play those guys twice. Miramar twice, Palomar twice, and then of course like Orange Coast and Golden West and IBC, and then Fullerton, who's right down the street from us. They are actually the southernmost team in the Northern Conference.
Got it.
And so we were in the same conference the last couple of years with Eddie Rapp. He coaches over there at Fullerton. We have a good time.
Another Paul Mitchell, one of the
beginners. Yep.
Love E-Rap. E-Rap and I have a great relationship. We like to kid about it. We have a love-hate relationship. So in high school, we went to rival high schools, right? He went to Edison and I went to Fountain Valley. So we hated each other, couldn't stand each other. And then we played together for Albert Gasparian at Golden West College. He was the setter and I was an outside hitter. So we loved each other. And then I messed around a little bit and I was ineligible my second year there at Golden West. That's something I'm not real proud about. But, and then he hated me. Of course. Because we had a pretty good team that year and we had a pretty good chance to maybe go to state, and I messed that one up. And then we started playing Paul Mitchell together. And you're going to like this, Coley. We played Paul Mitchell together. And then we started loving each other again, became good friends again. And then at your wedding reception, Coley, we were sitting at the same table, and I just bought a car and I needed some extra cash. And he was like, why don't you come down to Santa Margarita and coach for me? So E-Rap gave me my first coaching job down there at Santa Margarita.
That's amazing. So a couple of things about E-Rap. We need to get him on here.
Yes,
I think he gave Michelle her first coaching job ever at Santa Margarita as well.
No way.
His wife is one of Mooney's best friends too. She's amazing, Sarah Rapp. So there's a story in Paul Mitchell. We're in Dallas, and so it's a bunch of us, and so there's probably 10 or 15 of us. We're at Deep Elm. We're having a good time. We're out, late. Nothing new for this squad. Getting ready to play for the next day. Just having a good time. So it's like, bars are closing. There's a bunch of us. We're walking home, and we get right to the entrance of the hotel, and I'll never forget this. And let's see how far I can go on the story, but car pulls up out of nowhere, like almost like felt like it was maybe a drive-by or something, but
there's a big caddy.
It just pulls up out of nowhere, and the window rolls down, and there's like 10, 12 of us right on the edge of the hotel about to go in, and all this lady leans kind of through the window, and she's all, y'all looking for a date? And all of us were like, whoa. And we'll leave it at that. But there's some great stories with with E-Rap and everyone on Paul Mitchell. Like Ferb said that time, it's not just about something that you go in a Hall of Fame speech, but it's truly about the story, and so many things have had happened. Especially winning most of the time is what really matters.
That's always fun.
So, if we can get E-Rap on here, he's got another Dallas story, and I can't even do it justice, but it was at that same hotel, and right across.
Was that behind the bar?
It was behind the bar.
Oh,
yeah, you know that story, right?
Yes. You got to leave it to E-Rap. Okay, you can't.
Yeah, we got to finish it with E-Rap, but he's got a great story, and a lot of fun in that hotel, by the way.
Yeah, that was a good one. But what's crazy about that trip is, 15 years. I said earlier, I played with the Raymond team. It was like 14 of the 15 was with
Raymond
Paul Mitchell.
Construction. Yeah,
2 of those 15 years, we didn't go to the finals. One of them was that year in Dallas.
Yeah.
And that's the bummer for me. Like I look back at that, and the other one was Tucson, which I got a great story. Also, we'll have Esol tell that one, but that was it. 2 years, and it was those 2 years, and it was kind of a bummer to not get to the finals for us, and it just made me think about that story, because there's probably 3 or 4 stories from that trip that were truly unbelievable. Things that are like, will be with us forever, right? There's a lot to talk about.
And there's you can't even our hotel window
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
like 10
Oh,
story.
golf balls.
That was
Oh,
fun.
yeah. I remember
we'll
that.
probably
Right
have to edit that one out, you know,
into the
especially
fountain,
because you're
right?
you're
Just
telling
saying.
people that, like, well, you know, there's a shower story. I'm gonna leave it
Oh
at
my
that.
gosh.
A
Yeah,
public
It's
shower,
public, though. It's a public shower.
It's a
story.
public
Yeah, but
shower in
when
a
you tell people
bar.
these stories, tell people these stories, they're like, "What? No."
Yeah.
Or like, so you can't even tell them anymore because it's just crazy.
Bear, I'm going to say Bear and I, and this is as far as I'm going to go for now. Bear and I at separate times were in the shower with a female, okay? And this shower is on the main dance floor in a club in Dallas, Texas.
That's when I could still take off my shirt and be proud about it. Yeah.
And we
It
need
was
that female on here to see if she will admit all of this, by the way.
I'm
Since
not
we
saying
all know who this
doesn't-
person is,
it doesn't
just
matter
putting
who.
it out there.
It's an unbelievable. It's like I said, it's about the story. And that was a really fun night too.
For sure. That's funny.
Jeez.
It's about the story, and that's what we're here for.
And we have a ton of stories.
Some we can tell, some we can't.
We won't talk about the smoking tree then in Tulsa.
Hey,
On the
so
golf course, but
we're going to have to get my former dorm mate, Dave DeTinley, on this thing. He is entrenched in like the Division III men's. He was giving me a heads up that number 1 Cal Lutheran is playing number 18 Dominican. So I know us three are kind of out of touch with that, but if we want to give, D3 some love, I wouldn't mind have Dave coming in every once in a while just to kind of give us an update. And, yeah, I think that'd be fun. So
I think it'd be great.
He's a big fan of this podcast. He's like, keep it coming, guys. Keep it coming. There, it's awesome. And so, just giving you guys. He says, love Furbringer's Hall of Fame speech. I included it with the last podcast with Matt Furbringer. So all good stuff. But there's a ton of stuff going on with volleyball right now.
Yeah, I mean, you already mentioned the big ones with women's volleyball and college that, we talked about this weekend, just college games going on left and right. All the club volleyball around the country for the girls club volleyball is in full swing. They're already starting qualifiers for Junior Olympics. And, it's great for me to hear all my friends talk about their kids like I talk about mine with hoops. And, some are playing 13s, some are playing 17s, some are graduating this year playing 18s, just finishing it up. And it's just great to hear about it. And I'm going to go to a couple tournaments in the next couple weeks and just check it out, just watch it. The level's insane already. Like I said, I went last year, but I'm going to go watch a little bit more. We got a big college volleyball match coming up here in Southern California right now. Again, number 1, Long Beach is undefeated. UCLA's 3. They have tough games this weekend, but next weekend they're at the your hometown guys, your home school. They're playing at the Pyramid next Friday night. UCLA versus Long Beach.
Match.
Yeah, it should be a great match. I would expect a big crowd, energetic. It's really, some of the best volleyball there is in the world, at least at this level.
Yeah, that's a great rivalry too. I mean, they've battled. They were in the finals last year. Just about every time they play at the Pyramid, that place is sold out.
And Hawks used to coach it, assistant coach under Allen, right?
Now he's just about to say that.
He's the big dog head coach now at UCLA. You talk about Phil and John Cook's shoes. I mean, you've got Al Skates and then Spara. And you got, that's big, man. Hawks has got big shoes to fill, but all the best of luck to him.
Speaking of Al Skates, I'm on a text chain and he's on it. I'm on it.
Oh,
and
boy.
It's, an email chain, I should say.
Okay.
What I thought was funny is it really kind of is apropos to what we were talking about the growth of the men's game. So one of my former teammates, who's one of my best friends' fathers, played at UCLA. And they were talking about showing a picture of the UCLA volleyball match and how high someone was jumping, kind of what we talked about. Right. And Hank said, Al, I don't remember anyone jumping like that, and I'm paraphrasing, but Al's email back was something to the lines of, we practiced once a week after we could get in the gym, before like them serving food or, something like that. So of course we weren't jumping like that, like something like that. So, you look back at volleyball back, a long time ago, like it's nothing like it is today. And, we obviously have all of them to thank for it, Al and, Hanks and everyone that played it and forged this sport to become where it is today. But men's volleyball has grown immensely since we played college volleyball. The women's game's incredible right now, like we've been talking about. It's something that I talked about 20 years ago that I thought where volleyball is today, I thought it was going to be, honestly, 20 years ago.
Yeah. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, every Olympics you're watching, Carrie and Misty win and Todd and Phil. And before that, Dane and Fenoy and, Garch and Kent, and I could go back all the way there, and Holly and just Jenny and Annette are representing. Like there was so much excitement during those Olympic runs for both the men and the women, and for whatever reason, it just it just wasn't able to, the business model, the capitalization of just getting excited about volleyball. Don't know why. Everyone loves watching it. Yeah. Anyone that I know, or during the Olympics, or if there's something, I get texts from family members, I'm watching this game, or during women's collegiate volleyball this year, especially everyone, my son's girl, Kelsey Campo, used to coach at Tennessee, and, texting what's going on with volleyball. And it's like, they're all watching it, right? But it just hasn't evolved. It has now, right? It's where I'm excited to see the trajectory of this, and where we are today is not where we're going to be in 5 or 10 years. And I can't wait to see where volleyball is, in just 5 years.
I tell you, when we watch it, I have to be honest, and I think hopefully people take this as constructive criticism instead of ripping. But we're dropping the ball to not educate our commentators of how we talk, how the game is, the lingo, all that kind of good stuff. My favorite right now is Holly McPeak by far, and I said that a couple years ago when I first started this podcast. She doesn't talk down to the audience because I think she understands, the only people that are watching this are volleyball enthusiasts, and they're going to know what we talk about. They're going to know the rules. They're all, instead of saying, volleyball plays 2 out of 3, and, it goes up to, 15 in the fifth. Like, we already know this. So it was great to hear Holly do that.
NFL, you mean the NFL, you don't hear Troy Aikman telling everyone that there's 15-minute quarters, and there's a 45-second, 30-second,
right?
Yeah. So Holly came in and just saved the day as far as I'm concerned. But then if you do watch, and a lot of women's volleyball and men's are on ESPN Plus, and some of the announcers, you can tell they're just cutting their teeth on trying to get into the industry.
But I'm gonna jump in here because I don't disagree in some ways, but you got to remember, like I just said, like, volleyball's in its infancy stage, and this is Coley Kyman's opinion. Infancy stage of growth, like real growth. Like there's 3-4 women's pro leagues right now. College women's volleyball's putting 15,000 people in the stands on a Saturday for Purdue, Wisconsin. That didn't happen 5 years ago. It didn't happen 10 years ago. It didn't happen when UCLA in the 90s, with Holly winning, and it just didn't happen. So this game has changed a lot for the growth of the sport. So
no doubt.
They still have to be, there's a lot of people that are now coming to the sport that might not know that.
But this is why I disagree. This is why I disagree, is because when I coached at Division I listened to our ESPN broadcast, and they literally had no idea about the sport. And I didn't necessarily put that on the announcers. Honestly, I put that on the coaching staff. I thought the coaching staff should go in and talk to these, because it's mostly students, right? They're doing broadcast students, right? And go in there and talk to them and go over, this is how we talk, go over a match. And this is, it's when you go up and you swing, and the announcer goes, and they go up for and that was a kill. Oh, dug by number 17. Oh, it comes back over. Kill again. Oh, dug again. You're like, that's not our sport.
But again,
I think the coaching staff drops the ball on that. I do. I think we should spend time as the college staffing to go and talk to these broadcasters that are rookies and make them better.
But I can tell you this right now. I hear what you're saying, and again, this is why we're having this. It's a conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
We're supposed to have different disagree. I think talking down might be right in some ways, but listen to this. Like Coach Alan Knipe at Long Beach and John Hawks at UCLA. John's coming home this week from Ohio State and plays on Friday. He might have a game midweek. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing he's going to do is go spend 2 hours and watch film with a 22-year-old college student. Man.
But I'm just saying. So, like,
coach, the other thing is, think about this. The growth of volleyball is now giving opportunities for people that played the sport or were around the sport a chance to want to do something like that. Like, I would have done it. Like, if there was, Holly, like we just talked about Holly, like she kind of paved the way. She's been on the forefront. Sunderland, Marlowe, they all played. Both are Olympians. All 3 of them are Olympians.
Right.
Yeah. And they're the best, right? They've been doing this for a long time. Kevin Wong does a great job. Like, I could go down a few. Barnett, they all played, right? So but there wasn't many opportunities to call a volleyball match. Maybe
and I get that.
So now that there is, someone like, that played high school or played 2 years of college and was on the bench or was a superstar and doesn't want to go play over in Europe and like wants to get into broadcasting, that's what we're going to start seeing more of. There's just been no opportunity.
See, this was 10
when
years
I say
ago,
no opportunity,
I'm
I shouldn't
talking about.
say, yeah, I just.
If Bradley University is on ESPN Plus, let's be real here. It's been going on for 10 years. And I just think that an assistant coach should go to that class, go to that broadcasting.
Go listen to some of the ESPN Plus basketball games, and then you might change your mind. Basketball's been around forever, and there's some really bad reporters that are young trying to learn how to do it. Yeah. And it's not easy. I mean, when we have Geeter on here, he'll tell us, I remember when he was going to class, he was learning, he was doing high school games, sideline games, calling games on the TV for high school. Like it's a process. I mean, he's a natural at it, and he was a natural.
For sure.
It's a process. And so like, again, I'm not disagreeing completely with you, but I do feel like the growth of the sport is going to help the growth of the sport.
No, I feel you, Coley.
Which is people that are going to be much more versed in it.
I just think that with that growth, that we could help those broadcasters be better quicker, in my opinion. Right?
I hear you.
Yeah, I mean that's all I'm asking. I'm not talking about the head coach or anything, but GA or whatever, that knows the sport. Like, here's the lingo that we talk about, and it doesn't take that long, but it does take effort, I guess, because I think there's a gap actually between the broadcasters and the team.
Okay, so 5 years ago, I'm going to go back, not being a devil's advocate, but I keep wanting to argue this because I like to have the last word, but like, let's go back 5 years ago. Okay,
no kidding.
Let's go back 5 years ago.
Yeah,
and you're about to be an announcer, and you're like new.
Yeah.
What are you watching daily to get better? You're probably watching the Olympics replay of Holly.
Whatever I get my hands on.
The AVP. Now, you can watch the PVL.
Oh, you can watch anything
you can watch the LOVB.
YouTube, ESPN
You can
Plus,
watch college men's, the
tremendous.
Olympics team. You can watch international.
No argument.
You can pull it on you. So we now have media avenues to watch and listen and learn to people that have been doing it for a while, where folks haven't. So I think we're going to see a growth. We already saw the growth in the sport, but like, I think everyone's going to just continue to get better. And there's now, if it continues to grow like this, it's going to be career paths for people where it wasn't before. And, you have more opportunity to call games. You have more opportunity to become the next Holly McPeak, right?
And I think volleyball, when it's growing like this, volleyball is one of the most popular sports in the world. Just not in America.
Right there with soccer, baby.
It really is. Mm-hmm. And once it catches on like it is right now in the States, hopefully volleyball lingo will be in every household. So people will kind of know what a dig is or what an up is and all that stuff, and not have to explain all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, so that's all I was just saying. I just hope we up our game in the announcer booth. You know what I mean? Like I said, so. Well,
that's why you are here to tell what you want to say on the podcast. That, hopefully people are listening that watch volleyball, and it's like with all of it, and something I tried to do as a parent. One of the most important things to me when my kids were growing up were to create good men, but like to always try to focus on getting better.
Yeah.
Listen, I am.
That's my point. That's my whole point.
I am a piece of work. I'll just say this. I don't know how a lot of people handle me sometimes, you guys. Because
Bear, did you hear that?
Yeah,
I know. Just said he's a piece of work. I mean,
I talk a lot. I need to listen better. Yes, I know.
I love you.
I know, but it's about growth and it's about trying to get better and it's something, I think a lot of young athletes that are really hungry, one of our next, guests, but that are really hungry, they that's their focus all the time. So think about that. We're all 16, 17, we're playing one sport or three sports, and we want to be outside every day. You want to go throw the football, you want to shoot the basketball, you want to hit the volleyball, you want to swing at the baseball, whatever it is, you want to just do it. You want to do it. You just want to do it. You're so excited. And then there comes a time whether you plateau, you get sick of it. Very few become Jordan, LeBron, right. And,
for sure.
Mia Hamm, I could go on the best
Fully.
of the best. And, and so they stop really focusing on getting better. Right. And so that's something that I think everyone's going to do with this sport. We're all the businesses, the pro leagues, the coaches, the announcers. I think with the growth of this sport and where it's going, it's just got to be continued. Like you're that 13-year-old sponge that just learned how to play the game and all you want to do is get in the gym to get better. I think that's what's going to make this sport grow exponentially and so quick. if there's that mentality. And I think there is. I think a lot of people want to see this grow, and it's by learning and focusing on just truly getting better. And so, like I said, that's what I try to do. And I think those announcers in the leagues and the sport is going to continue to do that.
I think the game sells itself too. And what I mean by that is, like we talked about it not too long ago, like the first time you spiked a ball or whatever, but the game is a lot of fun, you know, and for instance, baseball. Okay. I guess it's a great game. It's a little slow. You know, I thought it was a little slow, kind of boring or whatever, but like going down to the beach and playing beach volleyball or playing volleyball at a decent level indoors, it's a kick. I mean, how much fun is it, you know? And, I don't know. I never got tired of playing volleyball because of the sport itself. It's fun. So hopefully that catches on with everybody too.
Yeah, I think it has. I mean, I think it has. And like I said, like you said, Sully, and we're all getting texts from friends and people during, it used to just be during the Olympics, like, wow, we're going to win a gold. Or now it's, you know, it's every weekend or weekdays during the fall. And, you know, it's going to be the same thing for men's volleyball too. And it's just, it's everywhere. And obviously we have, you know, the way the social media and everything else has grown, but like, you know, it's just great. There's so much volleyball to be watched. There's such high level volleyball all over the world to be watched. And I just think, again, the growth and the opportunities within the sport, not just as players, coaches, media personnel, social media folks, referees, sportscasters, announcers.
Yeah, it's huge opportunities.
It's just opportunities for all of it, and that's what makes, you know, we live in America. It's a you know, capitalist society of growing and making money, and there's just growth for this, and there's chances for so many people to get jobs, so many people to work within this sport, because it's, as you said, Bear, it's just a beautiful, fun sport that you never want to stop playing.
Yeah, and we talked about this on the last podcast, is it just doesn't do it justice unless you go.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
you got to go, and that's men's or women's, because they're two different sports in a way. I mean, they're played totally different, but to go is to experience it is the way to go, in my humble opinion. We talked about Jaidyn Blanchfield being on the podcast after this. Quick shout out, because I know Coley did. Quick shout out to my daughter Tegan Sullivan. By the way, she is a trackster, and she was just the OVC Field Athlete of the Week.
Congratulations!
Almost awesome. Hitting 19 feet in long jump, and talking about the struggles and really embracing coaching, good coaching, right? And that's kind of, you know, that's where we let in with Jaidyn, is they're changing the way Tegan long jumps, and they just started to do her high jump, and she's PRing left and right, and she didn't struggle. She embraced it. She really did. And she didn't jump well. And then all of a sudden it just took off. So that just kind of leads into what you were talking about, your son, Coley, as well as Jaidyn, and her journey is you got to have some people in your corner that you trust and really put it, you know, go all in and believe in the system itself, and good things will happen. So such a great story, such a great interview with Jaidyn.
Yeah, it is. And like when my son was going, my older one, Jake, who you know, was at UCLA and transferred a couple times and went in the portal and had a bad experience, a really bad experience that almost cost him his entire love and career playing basketball. And, you know, you go through so many things, but like one thing that he had written when he finally had committed to Eastern Washington, he knew he was going to play his 5th year. And he wrote on one of his Instagram posts, he was smiling and he was shooting. And it's the first time I saw him smile. And he said, "The journey is the destination." And I read it, and I saved it as a picture, and I keep it, and you know, just it made me think about that so much in our journeys. And we've mentioned the word journey a lot, but like that's what's missed, I think, through this whole thing. I want to get a scholarship. I want to be a pro.
Right.
You know, I want to be a coach. I want to, you know, all of those things, and like you're not smelling the roses, which is the journey, right? And so like you're trying to get somewhere so far, so fast, so quick, as high as you can, and you're missing all of those steps along the way. And that's what makes to me, like looking back at, and I know you want to talk. I said, you know, I got to work on listening. Something I'm working on. Trust me.
We're all getting better, brother.
But it really, to me, as we tell them stories and stuff, that's what it truly is about. And when my kids first started in club sports, we were playing AYSO soccer. They were playing rec league basketball and, you know, trying rec league tennis. We were doing all this stuff. And we started to get into the club basketball. Jake was in like 3rd grade and everyone's like, oh, he's in. And I was like, Michelle and I stopped and we always reassessed every year about like, is the money we're spending worth what he's getting? And of course it was about getting better in basketball because he loved basketball, but I had no problem spending that money to sit for 2 hours between games with his friends and tell jokes.
Right.
And sit at a restaurant together on someone's birthday on a Saturday, to travel and stay in a hotel with your friends and get up in the morning and grind against a team from a different state.
Mhm.
Those are the things to me that most of the parents in club sports are missing. That's what you should be paying for. That's what you are paying for.
Yeah.
You're paying for them to grow up, for them to have friends, life lessons, experiences, good and bad. And that's, you know, again, the journey to me is the destination. And my son taught me that. And, you know, I think when everyone listens to these, if you do listen to them, make sure you subscribe and you set the pipe. But like, try to put that into perspective when you're yelling at your kid, or you're about to go back into the gym, or you just got beat out, or you just had a terrible game, or what do you got tomorrow? What did you do last week? What did you do last summer? Did you just win the gold medal with your 16U team and you had the best experience of your life? That was 6 months ago. Why are you forgetting that? Why aren't you remembering that and celebrating that? That's part of your journey and who you are. Yes, you got to still grind. You still got to get better. You got to do all that because you want to get to the next level, but you got to enjoy it. You really have to enjoy that. I lost track of that for a little while when I first started being a parent. And so, you know, I'm hopefully I can give some advice to other parents, especially ones that were athletes. Just enjoy it. It goes too fast, and it's really about the journey.
Well, yeah, you have to understand that journey too. So, I mean, our careers were different. I mean, you were 3-time All-American, and people ask when I was at Long Beach State, hey, Sully, what position did you play? I'm like, well, it depends where you were at in the stands. So if you were in the middle and I was on the left, I played left side. And then when you were on the right, I played right side. So, but without that journey, right? People would ask all the time, and you were asked the same because they asked us a couple of times, why don't you guys transfer? You know, you can start at XYZ, you know, you can go to this other university, you can start. It's not part of it. This is the journey, right? This is where's my destination, you know, 2 finals and won the whole natty and all that kind of stuff. But I agree with your son wholeheartedly on that from really every aspect of life, if you really want to encompass that. So good stuff, man. That was real good stuff.
You can do that as a parent too. And, you know, it's like when you have a kid, you're like, I can't wait till he crawls. I can't wait till he gets out of diapers. I can't wait till he does this, right? Just enjoy where they are at that moment.
For
and
sure.
I give that advice to other parents.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, it's hard to do it. And, you know, like I stayed at the same high school. I stayed at the same college. Michelle did the same thing.
Me too.
Jake stayed at the same high school, and he transferred. I would have never thought he would have transferred, and he transferred twice. And, you know, the first situation at UCLA was amazing. It was a wonderful situation. You know, it just, you know, the coach that, you know, coached him wasn't the one that recruited him. Every guy on that team is in the NBA that was in front of him. Every single one of them signed an NBA contract. A few of them are playing overseas now, but 4 or 5 of them are actually on NBA rosters every week. I mean, my kid could hoop. It's just he was behind some guys that could hoop too, right? And so he wanted to play and just chose a destination. Terrible choice. I'm not going to go down that path. It was just a bad choice. A lot of bad things. 9 kids ended up transferring out. You know, and then went to the next place. But to go back to what you're saying is, Michelle played at UCLA for 5 years. She started her senior year, and her senior year was not even 100% starting. She probably started 85, 90% of the games. Played a little bit as a junior. Her freshman and sophomore year, that team was loaded with Elaine and Natalie. And, you know, that to me, it's still 1991 to me is one of the best teams ever at UCLA, but women's team. But she would tell you, and we'll have her on here someday, but she wouldn't change that experience for anything in the world.
Right.
But that's not for everybody. And I learned that with my son. And, you know, every experience just gut it out isn't for everyone, but I do feel more should gut it out. It, you know, doesn't mean all, like I said, I've already said my son was in the portal twice, and it just depends on everyone's situation, and every kid deserves to make their own choice. And, but your experience and your journey, yours bears, mine, I was a backup quarterback the majority of my career at UCLA. I mean, excuse me, at Northridge. You know, so like, I wasn't like a superstar out on the football field. So I saw that. I saw being on the sidelines and holding a clipboard or coming in with the last 5 minutes of the game or win or lose, you know, kind of thing. And it's tough sometimes, but I wouldn't change that for anything in the world either. I loved my experience. I loved being on the scout team. I loved riling up our defense. I loved helping us win. Yeah, but that was me, right? A lot of people.
Bear and I talk about that quite frequently with the guys. It's like, do you realize we got to play and compete against the #1 team in the country every day? Every day. And we kick their butt every once in a while. I mean, how good was that? We had the NCAA Player of the Year, 2 Olympians, an Olympic coach on. I mean, craziness, right? But that's what we did. But that's, if you look at it that way, it's different than I'm not playing.
And it's sucks, also why you won. Because you guys could have went and started at 90% of the programs at other other schools. And the reason why you guys won is because you were playing every day and competing against the guys that needed to play against legit guys. And
we knew our role. We knew our role on that team.
We knew our role. And my senior year, when Hilliard sat, for senior night, Hilliard sat, Stemvig sat, so Schroed sat, me and Nelson were in there, right? And I think USC was number 6 in the country, crushed them in 3. You know, didn't even bat them out. It didn't even bat an eye. You know what I mean? So that just was a big deal for everybody that was involved, that, you know, you do have your role, and you got to go through that sometimes. And times have changed. Like you said, Cole, you've got 2 kids that are in the thick of things, and one already went through it. So it's the times have changed, but I don't disagree with you, man. I think some kids should get it out, as well as the parents, and because the fruit at the end is so sweeter sometimes. But I understand the toxic environment. Get out and start.
That's where you need to get out, and that's where my kids. And that happened with. And, you know, with this, and this is maybe a good, you know, lesson. And again, these are our opinions, you know, right?
Yeah,
this is a podcast, and I'm not telling anyone how to do it or what's right, what's wrong. You know, I look at that, and I think when you're looking to be recruited, and if there's kids playing volleyball, it goes the same for every sport, is you want to find a situation where you feel the culture, the coaching staff, the program is where you want to be. Yes, you want to start. Yes, you want to win a national championship. All those things are great. One team wins every year. Yep. And by the way, we're old. Nobody cares who won in 1991 but us.
Nope.
Yeah.
So like when you look back at all your times, like, did you transfer to 4 schools to try to, we're not talking NIL. That's a whole different ballgame.
Right. Yeah.
Money changes things. Money changes people's lives. We don't know everyone's situation. But regards to the other thing, like, you look back where you two are right now. I mean, you guys have had an amazing career with volleyball. You have some amazing friends. You just talked about Sully. You go everywhere around the country, whether it's Salt Lake City or it's in Pennsylvania. Someone knows you. They know people. You had a wonderful experience. You guys won national championships. No one's asking, other than people joking, like, when you tell someone you won a national championship in 1991, you're in Salt Lake City, someone doesn't say, hey, did you start? Right. How many kills did you have? Were you the player of the game? Nobody asked that. They just want to, wow, you won a national championship. That's amazing. Now, listen, if it was last year and there were people watching the game,
different.
Yeah, of course they know and they care and they matter. But like, you know, like it's funny. There's, it's just, nobody cares. I mean, I hate to say it like that at the end of the day. And like, what matters is the journey, right?
Well,
and it matters all of those things.
It was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
Yeah, Jaidyn shouted out to Bobby Peterson. She's like, the culture that's there, it's amazing what she does by keeping that culture in place with all the different changes and stuff over the years. And it's only, NCAA still changing, right? But for her to pull that off at UNI, pretty impressive. You know, for those kids to stay there for 4 to 5 years in this day and age. It's it's very difficult, and like I don't even know the answer. I don't even think there is one. It's again us just talking, and so many talking about it. Is like, what do you do, though, if you're a kid and you want to go to, let's just use Long Beach State. Let's just talk volleyball. Like you're a 15-year-old freshman in high school. Right. You go to Long Beach, you drive, and you're down here in South Orange County. You live down where I live, in San Clemente, or Mission Viejo, one of those areas, and you're going to school there, and all you want to do is play volleyball at Long Beach State, the best team in the country every year,
right? So you get there and you get better and you're good enough. You're good enough to go to Long Beach State. They have Nikolov is now a junior, right? Or a senior, and that you're the setter, you want to be the setter. So you go there, you're like, dude, I'm going to go sit behind him. You're going to learn, you go, you compete. And then, the UCLA setter who was all conference last year, grew up in Huntington, right? And always wanted to go to Long Beach State too.
Transfers.
And transfers in.
Yeah.
And he's only one grade above you. So let's say he's a sophomore year freshman. So now you thought you were going to start for 3 years or play at your dream school.
Yeah.
You did everything right. You trained every day. You were a great student. You were a model kid. You sat behind an All-American kind of thing who's going to go be on their national team.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden, like, it's summertime. You're excited. You're training. You're down at the beach, and you see the news come out that XYZ transfers from UCLA to Long Beach. He was all conference. He played last year, so on paper he's starting. What does that kid do? What would you do?
Yeah, because back in the day when you transferred, you had to sit out a whole
sit
year,
out, and it was hard. So
and then it was between conferences, you had to sit out more. I mean, there was a punishment for transferring. Now,
so
it's just
my question, I'm actually asking you both. So, like, say this is your kid, and I just gave you that scenario, and Long Beach was his dream school, and like now he's about to be a sophomore, and he's got a kid who's about to be a junior who's probably better than him. So do you stick it out and hopefully play your senior year? Do you decide to say, you know what, I was being recruited by Northridge. They really wanted me. Yeah. Their setter, I think I could beat out. Like, do you transfer to Northridge so you get to play? And that's the hard part, Sully. And that's
what's important, right? What's important to you?
What's important. And that's the hard part. Like, because again, everyone wants to play. And if you go to the other sports, like volleyball too, now because there's so much, professional opportunity, is you're looking at like, am I going to be a pro? If I want to be a pro, I can't sit on the bench for 3 years. But remember what you just said. You played against the best team in the country
every day,
every year, and every day. So you got better. If you're going, I'm not saying they're not. I mean, I'm not heckling my school. I'm not saying, but if you're going to Northridge and you're the starting setter, my guess is their backup team, they're 17th or 18th right now in the country, probably isn't playing against the best team in the country every year, right? So
that's fair.
Right
that's
now,
fair.
hopefully next year, because I'm a matter of, but so like, I don't know the answer. I don't, I honestly, it's a tough one, and where you're living in it. And, let's say all things are equal with NIL and, all of that. It's not that, but it's actually, you could, and you're not moving from Pennsylvania to come back to California. You're just driving down the 405 and your family still lives here. And it's where you always wanted to go. Like, that's where I feel so bad for high school kids, including mine, and also just the state of sports. It's a tough one to see. And I don't know if there's an answer how to change it or what to do. It's what's important. And, that's why I think when you pick a school, honesty from the staff, that still doesn't change the scenario I just gave you. Alan would be super honest with you, right? But, if he says, you have a chance to be a starter next year, but all of a sudden the kid calls, I mean, you're not going to say no, especially in today's world. And, all of those things.
The kid that was at Long Beach and was at Lewis. I mean, Alan goes, see that kid right there? I'm like, yeah. He goes, he was on Long Beach State last year, but he came in my office and was just like, I want to play. I want to go somewhere where I can play because I'm probably not going to play here, right? In the situation that I'm in right now. And he got to play against Long Beach State and he did pretty well. So I think
it depends on the individual, on the kid, on what he wants. And everybody's a little different. If you want to be part of that successful program and sit on the bench and just be part of that, then you stay. Or if you want to get on the court, like everybody wants to get on the court, like you alluded to, but then you go someplace else.
Well,
and maybe not.
Yeah, it's tough. And then the reality also is something we talked about in our next, interview with Jaidyn, which is, I'm not going to take anything away, is you talked about you were real with her when it mattered.
For sure.
Right? Yeah. When she's in high school, you told her the truth. Mm-hmm. I don't think a lot of people, from coaches and trainers, especially trainers, tell them the truth. Like, oh, you should be playing basketball at Duke when you really should be playing at Northridge.
Right.
Like,
we can get into a whole different topic about parents, but parents did not like me telling them where I thought they should land. And my percentages was extremely high with being honest with everybody and where they should have been. And if they didn't heed to the advice, because that's all it was my advice and an opinion, they failed. They weren't where they were supposed to be in terms of that playing ability or even to be able to get to the next level. I think there's some unrealistic parents out there that put that pressure on the kids, and that's a whole nother topic that we can get into in another
and we
podcast.
should. I mean, like this is the other thing about that is if you think about the level, if they can still get a scholarship to that school that they want to get to, but you don't think they're probably capable or going to be a consistent superstar at that level, that's where I think that it's really a tough one, because I can kind of get there, right? But you're like, but you're not there, right? Or that's one way. The other one I think is, and I see it, in the sport, but talking, Michelle trains a lot of young girls that are, young teenagers that are playing club and high school volleyball, and listening to their stories that want to play and how their recruiting's going there, and talking to my friends from Geeter to Furbs, all these that have had kids growing up in this, it's really difficult for any sport to be recruited, and especially in high school today. But to understand where you fit and where you can thrive, and that goes back to what we just said, Tim. And again, I'm going to preface this statement one more time, without talking NIL, because I understand $100,000 payment and $1 million payment separate a lot of things and make a lot of decisions easier for people.
Next 5 years is going to be interesting.
Right,
really
wrong,
is.
or indifferent. But with regards to that, if you can find the level that you feel comfortable with, your coaches, your team, your parents, the staff recruiting you, and you feel like this is where you can thrive, go to that school and thrive.
Yep.
Now, the thing is they'll always say, you can transfer. But again, go back to what you said, Bear. If you're starting at a school and you're having such a great experience and you enjoy the school, like, again, other than lots of money, like, I don't know. I think, again, a lot of us are missing the journey in that spot. But again, I'm not going to tell anyone not to do it. Transferring, especially in today's world, is part of it. Everyone's looking for the right fit, the right style. And that's the other thing. Find the right fit, the right style. If your daughter is a long, high ball, hitter and a little bit, you're not going to go to a school that shoots the ball to the pin, just because it's where she wanted to go. And she wanted to wear the blue and whatever jersey.
Coley.
Yeah.
Why do that? Yes, you can train it. Of course they can, I'm going to do this, but like, that's not your style. Like if you're a shooter and all you do is shoot, but this team is always throwing the ball into the post, and that's what. Why would you go there?
Yeah,
and so those are the things you got to learn.
That's hard for people to have a concept that there's high ball hitters and there's low ball hitters, right? And some girls that are like the slow to the outside are great. They are unstoppable. They don't have to go this fast offense. That's so funny you brought that up, because I've been saying that for years. I'm like, some girls are just high ball hitters and low ball hitters, and guys the same way, right? So, and then you go to a system that you're going to excel in. And some people don't do that. They don't heal to that advice, but that's okay.
Yeah. And I think I will say this though, like you had mentioned earlier about the announcers, right? Like in the world we have today, if the parents aren't doing a better job researching everything, and I'm not just talking about the coaching staff, the styles, watching games, understanding, you're doing yourself, and especially you're doing your child a disservice. And it's crazy. There's an ex-NFL football player. His son's played basketball with Jake in college, and he's built a software, and we should probably actually get him on here and he talk about the software. It'd be actually really interesting. And I don't know if he has it ready for volleyball yet. He did it for football. He does it with the NFL. He does it with agents, but it actually gives the, like you, Sully, have been on a recruiting trip as a chaperone. So you've sat in the meetings, listening to what the coaches say. Bear, you're a coach. You've been it. You've listened on both sides. The coaches have control in those meetings. They know what they're going to say. They know what they're going to show you on the board about how great you are, and you're going to be the fit of a lifetime, and you're all of those things. Most of the times, and I did this in the early days with Jake, and again, Jake went to his dream school. Jake should have went to Nevada. Thanks, Coach Alford, for giving Jake the opportunity at UCLA, and he should have been there. But so the gentleman, Kenyon is his name, and his sons played with, he coached Jake and all this stuff. So he built this software. And so now you go in these recruiting visits, and you have all the data now. Okay, so I'm going to use it in volleyball. I like it would be in volleyball. So you're the head coach, and we're sitting here, and I'm sitting here saying, Sully, you're an outside hitter, right? And you're going to come in. They're telling you you're going to be 0-2 for them. Their best player's coming back, but you're going to be an 0-2 and you're a freshman. So they're telling you in the meeting, like, we really want you. They show you the video, you walking out in the arena, everything's great. And listen, we see you, you're going to be passing every time. I see you getting 20, 30 kills a match in high school. Like, you're going to get 10, 12 swings a game. You're going to do all this. And you stop, say, Coach Sullivan, hold on a second. You open your stuff that just says, wait a second, but like, you've coached for 15 years here and you've had one freshman start the entire year, your whole career here. So you're telling me that she's going to start. Can you explain to me why she's different than the last 15 years?
Oh man.
And one more thing, while you're explaining that to me, in your 15 years, even the one that started your freshman 0-2 or, anyone in your 0-2 never gets more than 6 sets a match. So you told me she was going to get 8 to 10 sets and that she was going to start. So you've only started one in 15 years and no one in 15 years have ever gotten 10 swings on average a match. Just tell me why she's different.
Bottle this up with NIL. Oh, it's going to get ugly. Woo.
So now you have statistics. You're doing the research. Because listen, when you go on recruiting visits, they make you feel special. And they should.
Yeah.
They should. Yeah. They want you there. They want your child there. They're paying for everything. It's wonderful. And I want to believe that most coaches have good intentions, but it's a business and they're trying to do what they can for you. Yeah, even more so, but they're trying to do what they can. And again, it goes back to trust. It goes back to honesty. It goes back to having as much as you can in front of you. You're not going to have everything. There's coaches, some kids that you're better than tomorrow. They're going to be better than you. You're better than today. They're going to be better than you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Some things you can't change.
Do I need to mention we didn't have the internet when we played?
Yeah.
We didn't have Google to search. We didn't have any software or anything.
Parents get blindsided a lot. And I think, open up your eyes. I'm telling you right now, I was blindsided and I was a coach's kid. My dad was a high school coach for 43 years here in Southern California. I grew up loving sports, believing in sports, touch the line, get there early, believe in all of that. And a lot of it has been shattered for me, to be honest with you. Like this, what happened to Jake, and just what I've seen with certain things with high schools over the last 10 years.
Club.
The club, just I told Coach Sundance Wicks, who's the basketball coach now at Wyoming. He was an assistant when Jake was there. We were talking about something over the summer and I quoted this and he's like, I'm going to use it. I don't know if he used it, but like watching what's happened is like the spirit of sport is dying, right? If you can just understand that. And it's like, it's because of those things. So do your research, understand what's out there, understand who the staff is, make sure you're in the right situation, the right system, the right fit, the right team, the right school. And again, it's not about where the destination. If you don't want to be in the snow, obviously you don't go to school. But I'm saying all of those things, it's still not a science that you can put a finger on and you get it right every time. But like, if you could really look at all those things and put those things in perspective and understand what's important, maybe the school never starts a freshman. Great. If you really think you deserve and you want to start as a freshman, then don't go there. Don't go there and say, I'm going to be the one to do it. Well, for 15 years, that coach has coached. They've won 5, titles. And no, he's never started one. So what makes you different? Like, doesn't mean you can't be that one. Obviously, things change, but know that going in with your eyes wide open, that's just the reality of what normally happens.
And there's Coley Kyman with passion. So if you guys haven't heard Coley Kyman on the podcast before, there's more. There's more that we're just unzipping right now from Coley Kyman, buddy.
I told you I have a lot to talk about.
Yes, he does.
I need to do better at listening. I need to be a better listener.
Doing great.
I don't have a mute button on my end. I'm just like, because I was just turning to Bear and go, so Bear, did you have something for dinner tonight? Or like, let Coley go, brother, because we got.
Hey, Coley, I got some more for you to talk about a little bit. And I want to go back to Braden making that shot and winning that game.
Love to.
And we can edit this later or whatever, right? And bring that back. But I'm just like, how did his attitude change and everything after, like, compared to the first time they played? And then now winning that shot or winning that game with that shot and everything. I mean, how was he after that?
Well, I'm glad you asked, actually, Bear, because I am having so much fun on this podcast. I enjoy talking, as everyone who knows me knows. And I always think I have a lot to say, but like, I talked earlier about learning. I can tell you this right now, and if he's listening to this, my son Jake, I love more than anything, is I was tough on him. And I mean,
I remember you talking about that.
An asshole tough at times. I thought that's how I needed to be and to make him the best and to do all these things.
Parent.
And I was that parent and yelling at him, talking in the car on the ride home. And I failed him miserably in regards to that. He got to the pinnacle. He got to play basketball at a high level and he has records and all these things. But Braden's going to do the same thing without that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so he played Friday night. It's a packed gym. We're playing the 15th in the country. It's a big game. And like I said, he didn't show up. And that's rare that either of my children ever would not show up in a game like any game. They understand that all I've ever really asked for him is just to play hard and compete.
Did you say anything to him?
So it's funny because I called Michelle and we were all in different cars because I worked the snack bar beforehand. Michelle came after. Braden was, at the school.
Right.
Normally I would have said something right away. I was fuming a little bit. I told a few reporters. By the way, I'm like I said, I'm way better. I'm calm in the stands now. Didn't used to be. But all this stuff, and I was pretty bummed after the game. Our team played hard. Our team competed. The whole team needed Braden to play. We lost by 10, but it was a tie game with 2 minutes left. And again, it happens. I don't want to say he didn't show up. He still played the game and whatnot, but he was 1 of 5 shooting. So, because I'm going to tell you that goes back. So I call Michelle. She can hear my anger. She's like, you're not going to talk to him. I said, I won't talk to him until I get home. Turned off, we hung up. I'm driving. It's a 20-25 minute drive. I'm listening to some music and I take a deep breath and I said, you know what? I'm going to actually call him on the phone and I want to have a conversation with him and just, get it over. So he picks up the phone and how are you, bud? And you can, hear the pretty bummed in his voice. Exactly. And I said, what happened? And he says, I don't know. I said, that's your answer? And Coach Riley is the coach at Washington State. And so I said, so you're going to tell me, and after a game, you don't have a good game, you're going to walk in and Coach Riley's going to say, Braden, what happened? You're just going to look at him and say, I don't know. And he said, yep, that's what he said. So we're on the phone. And so I said, listen, we'll talk at home. I love you. Boom, gets home, go into his room. And to go back to your question, Bear, is he was pretty in despair. Wasn't happy, was disappointed in himself. Was disappointed in the way he played, how he competed, not played. Again, shots fall, shots, will go in.
Sure.
Very rarely do athletes like him and kids that are at that level and where we were don't show up to compete in a game like that. It's one thing to be playing on a Saturday, but top team in the country, home crowd, packed house, to not show up, to bring it, to not bring it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go 0 for 30, but to not bring it is one thing. And so, he said something that he's like, I'm supposed to be this college basketball player, commit. And and so I actually totally went different route with him. And we just talked about it and about, what's it going to take and I said to him, listen, that it's over. But what you need to do is you really need to understand why. I don't know the answer why. Why did you play like this? What has been going on? What's internal that's changing this? And I said, what really separates the best from the best, the Kobe's, LeBrons, like I said, all I can go on, and the Gretzky's, the Montanas, the Brady's, like I said,
Karais.
The Karais, the Misties, the Carries, the Hollies, I could go on the Sue Birds, I'm talking about all the sports, just everything to go with it is when you fail, you immediately change that. And that doesn't mean you're going to come out and score 50 points the next game or shoot, score 3 goals or, hit the bullseye in the archery. But what it does mean is you're going to change the way you go about it. And so that's what I told him. He was kind of sad all weekend, didn't do much, played his video games, was introspective. On Sunday, he went and just out of nowhere, took Michelle, asked her to go to the gym. They went and hit the heavy bag, got some aggression out, got to work out with his feet.
I saw that picture actually.
Yeah. And then this is my favorite part. I almost tweeted it out, but I didn't. But he went outside to a park and shot the basketball. Most people go to the gym where he goes all the time and trains. He just went and his mom went with him after their workout and he just shot,
Beautiful.
and
Beautiful.
I didn't say anything to him again. The next morning, all I said to him is, right before he drove out and left is I said, listen, I love you.
Yeah.
And just compete tonight. So get to the game. Great team. Like I said, they're going to have 2 NBA players, if not more. And he competed. He was great. He was great. And he wasn't just great because he scored. He was awesome on defense. He was great on passing the ball, which probably his best attribute. He's the lead at that. But he just was everywhere, touching balls, deflecting balls, on the ground, would have ran through the wall. And
he brought it.
And then he was, again, when you're playing like that, after your mindset is, again, I said he was 1 for 5 in that game on Friday night. He was 6 of 8, and he was 5 of 7 from 3. And that fifth three that he made was at the buzzer. And, it just goes to answer your question, Bear, is like, he took a deep breath. He had to assess quickly what was causing that mental and emotional distress to not go out and compete in an environment like that. And, he figured it out quickly. And that's what I was most proud of. And I told him and a bunch of people after the game, even before the game, like, I'm texting all my Northridge chain and my other chain with Matt and Adam and all these guys that, played volleyball. And all I'm saying is, like, I'm more proud, maybe the most proud I've ever been of him at this point in his career through everything he's done, is how he was playing after that game from Friday night.
How he responded.
It was just
it was
so awesome to watch that. And again, then on top of it, you put the icing. I mean, for him to hit a shot, every kid dreams of that. You're playing on the road in one of the toughest leagues in the country. If we lose this, we have no chance at first place. Santa Margarita's never won a Trinity League basketball league championship. Okay. And just to have that packed house, Rich Paul, is an agent, he's there. There's NBA scouts, there's trainers, there's writers, there's reporters. I could go down the list, and college coaches. And to play like that, and then, of course, to hit the game winner is amazing, right? Like, that's something he'll live with forever, and kids dream about that. But just to play like that and be able to help your team win is what made it super exciting for me to watch that. And then he turned around last night, dropped 16, and had the same attitude. Our team rolled again. But I think, actually, you need to sometimes, like we said, you need to fail. You need to learn.
Absolutely.
To take 2 steps, back, to take 5 steps forward. Sure. And, we always forget that sometimes. I mean, every team loses, almost every team, not teams go 30-0. Occasionally it happens, but every team loses. A lot of teams go through ruts. A lot of teams go through, sometimes a game, sometimes multiple games, and guys hate each other. Girls don't like each other. Like, they're going through all kinds of problems, and like, all of those things usually work out. Sometimes they don't. You have a bad year, right? And that's what happens.
Like, when you lose, though, at times you really think about it. I mean, when you win, you almost expect it. And sometimes to be a really good athlete, after you win, you still got to break down film and watch film and all that stuff and be retrospective on what you did. But it almost seems if you lose a game or have a bad game or whatever, it seems like it's just ingrained in top athletes that you don't want that to ever happen again. And you cannot get it off your mind until you get another chance at improving yourself.
And that,
the biggest factor that I'm hearing with you, Coley, is your son just didn't bring it.
Yeah,
forget the fact that they lost. Right?
Yeah, no, he didn't bring it, and he didn't bring it. He didn't bring it. And the cool thing, is like, and we said we're going to do a series on this, and I've talked to so many folks who can't wait to do it. And we should probably talk about maybe putting a series together about the parents raising children that are athletes and whatnot, and having a wife that played sports at that level.
Yeah.
To be on the same page is awesome. Yeah. So Braden is, there's tweets, there's Instagram posts, Ball Is Life, which was one of the biggest 8 million followers, posted it. That's a big thing for a kid, right? Like, all of these things. And he's walking up the stairs after, finally, getting home. We're all talking. We're still cheering. He's walking the stairs, and she leans up and says, "Hey, remember how you feel right now. And remember how you felt Friday.
Yep.
Don't let that happen again." And I was just like, that's his mother, not me, right. the father. That's his mother saying, like, understanding the magnitude of playing the same. It's just awesome. I'm fortunate.
Tell her.
That's good stuff.
I love her, by the way. She kept you in check, which was great. As a
can't
great
believe
partner.
She's still here. Yep.
I mean, great partner that says, hey, do not talk to him because you wanted to, right? And then to come home and and give him, your son that, take him to the park, because she knew this is what he needed. Just get out here and just do your thing and shoot, carefree, fresh air. And then say that at the end while he's going up the stairs, go, to his room. Yeah, she's a keeper, brother.
Yeah, she is. And it's, I wish, like, this goes back to some of the things we talked about the journey, right? Like, regret's a big word. I don't regret a lot of things in my life. And I don't want to say I regret, because Jake did get where he got. And him and I have a wonderful relationship right now. We didn't always. I really wish I could go back and change some things.
Sure.
I wish I could have done things differently with him on being as hard as I was. But it is also easier with the second. And a lot of the things I want to tell Braden, he's already heard.
Yeah.
And that's what changed me for him when he was probably like 12. I'm trying to give him a speech and not yelling, but right after the game, still like, you said this, maybe it's like 11. And he really stopped me, and I love him. And that's why his relationship is great. He stops his dad. I've heard all this. You told Jake. And I was like,
clear, by the way, because you were that dad.
I was like, all right. Okay, man, like, you get it. You understand it. Okay. I don't need to do that. And that was probably there's been many that I needed to learn and get better. Michelle's been trying to get it for years, but like, it really hit me like into my heart and my soul. Like, okay.
Sometimes it does.
You get it. Like Jake probably got it too, but like, you're actually telling me you get it. So I don't need to do that. And it's also been freeing for me and making, me healthier and less stressed. And really for me, trying to enjoy the journey as being a parent. Like, my kids they're done with high school basketball for the league next Tuesday. Like, they have playoffs. They could lose their first game. Like, he's already then a senior, right? Then I have one more year of high school sports.
Empty high school hoops.
Yeah.
House.
Like,
empty nesters now.
It's been a lot. We've been doing this our whole lives for like the last, we figured out like 15 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Nonstop basketball. And we are those parents that we're fortunate enough, and I work hard enough to try to get us to every event. And like, I just love watching my kids compete.
Absolutely.
And win or lose, I just love watching them compete. And so
all good stuff.
I got to enjoy the journey. I appreciate you asking, Bear. I mean, we talk about it, Sully, I'd love to hear more about your daughter in track. I think, I love track and field.
We do. Parenting is tough. It's so rewarding, but it's tough. You got to make some decisions, hard decisions at times. And you just cross your fingers. You were raised the right way and surrounded by great people. And because it's a tribe, it's an overused term, I think, but it's true. I mean, you have a tribe around you, and like, it's going to sound funny, but going to Southern California with Boise kids with Jaidyn, and who gets to host? Bear right there. I mean, it's a tribe, and it just wasn't me. And and so the influence and all that kind of good stuff. So great stuff, Coley. Like I said, just Mooney's great. I can't wait to get her on here. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. And if there's a mute button on here, I'm gonna fucking figure that out, and then just let her keep talking.
Well, she'll just hit me and tell me that. But like, it's the truth though, and we keep talking about like what volleyball's done for everyone, and what sports has done for everyone, and like the small world of it, and like, it's the journey, like you said, like you guys, she came down here in high school, and like Bear hosted her, like, and she still remembers that. And it's like, those are the things
fondly.
Fondly. And those are the things about the journey. And we talked about that, and just really embracing it all. And like, to go back to what you were saying, Bear, and you, Sully, about being parents, like, again, this is my advice, Coley Kyman's advice, who's been through it and who was a terrible parent at times, like, really enjoy it and embrace it. I would give anything to watch Jake play basketball.
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't around you during those times. Honestly, like, I would have a different perspective. I probably wouldn't want to be around you.
It was just with my kid, though.
I'm like,
that's the worst thing.
Still,
I was so
like,
great with. I love every other
to a son. You know what I mean?
I know.
Like,
you're right. You're right.
But to come out in public and say, or even to your boys, that they're like, dude, that was not a good situation when I was first doing this with my first son, and be able to now come on a podcast and admit it. But at the same time, Jake loves you to death, and he was willing to help us for this podcast if we need him. And so, that relationship is there. But to come clean like that, Coley, that's pretty commendable, man. I appreciate it. And, him and I have had many talks, and this has been going on for a lot of years of me, trying to, I apologize, of course, but more importantly, like, learn from my lessons from my second one. It's funny because there'll be occasionally where I'm like, we text after this game, and Jake's like, oh, great.
He's like, and then Michelle Mooney will be like, yeah, but he didn't do it. He's like, of course not. If it was me, like I would have do blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you're right. And you're right. And I'm sorry. I wish I could go back and change that. But you know what? At the same time, like it I don't want to say it made him tougher or stronger, but we grow and learn from it. I always wanted to try to be the best dad I could. And the athlete in me, the competitor in me, clouded and caused some problems with that, with the sport for my kids, not going to school or going on a trip or things like that. But with sports, and sports are played almost, year round in this house. So it's a tough one. And so hopefully, if there's anyone listening to this and you're too tough on your kids, I already told you that it really doesn't matter. So if your kid misses a serve at 15 all in the 5th game in their junior year in high school, when they're 30 or they're 25, you're not going to care that they missed the serve.
Nope.
Don't yell at them. Tell them you love them. I wish I was better. And hopefully by hearing me say this, it'll help other parents be better. Because at the end of the day, like the support and love. Now, again, if they're not competing, if they're not giving you their effort for all that they're putting in and you're putting in,
big difference.
It's a big difference. And there's a discussion to be had about that.
Don't disagree with that.
But the rest of the stuff is it's not worth it. And, like I said, just, love those kids and enjoy the journey yourself as a parent, because it ends soon. And when it ends, you would give anything back, just like we'd all give a chance to play again.
Sure.
I'd give anything to watch Jake drop a 3 again. He could shoot the ball with the best of them. And I'm fortunate enough to get my kid, have another kid to do the same. So
I was
appreciate you guys asking. I do. I love
was
my boys.
the opposite of you, Coley. When I went into especially volleyball, I went into the far corner away from every parent around and was just like, go team, yay, go team. Oh, good job, kid. That kind of thing, because my brain is just high level, and to listen to other parents, I couldn't. I would not have made a lot of friends. I would have voiced my opinion when I probably shouldn't have. So I was better off in the corner, but I was there. We were always there watching and just bit our tongue when we had to.
I think showing up and just being there for them.
I totally agree, Bear. Yeah, for sure. I mean, even if they're not in sports, right?
Whatever it is.
Just whatever they're in, showing up. And you got a unique situation we should probably talk about too, Bear, is you're actually kind of working side by side with the oldest, right?
Oh, yeah. My oldest daughter, 19, Michaela, I'll back up a little bit. I work at high school, Edison High School, which is kind of funny. That goes back to the E-Rap story.
E-Rap. E-Rap getting some love today on this pod.
I went to Fountain Valley, and I hated Edison, right? And now I'm a teacher at Edison. So my wife went to Fountain Valley. I still live in Fountain Valley, and I get a lot of crap for working at Edison from my Fountain Valley people.
I'm sure.
And the first time I had to wear an Edison hat or whatever, some gear, I had a hard time putting that thing on.
Crushed you. Yeah, it did.
But anyway, so my daughter, Michaela, is 19, and I work in the special ed department. I'm a teacher there. And she's just started working here about 6 months ago as an aide. So
that's awesome.
I get to see her every day. And,
I get to see Dad
we work together, which is kind of fun.
To see Dad as a professional and how people respect him as a professional rather than dumb dad. We're all dumb dads.
A little bit of my story,
right?
I guess. It's my second marriage, right? So she's from my first marriage, and the last couple of years of her childhood, 16 to 18, she was with her mom a lot more than with me. And so that was kind of a bummer, obviously. And to be able to see her every day now is quite special, and just cool. Enjoying the journey, Coley, with her every day.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for her. And, like you said, you just got to be there. And, it's probably the toughest job in the world. It's the greatest job in the world, but you got to want to have that job, right? As being a parent. And, good for you. I'm glad you get that opportunity. It's great.
Yeah, it's fun. It's great.
All good stuff on Set the Pipe, folks. I think we'll probably shut it down, but I got to tell you, some of these conversations that CK and Bear and I have are going to be 20 minutes. It's been an hour and a half for this one. We can go on for hours. Seriously, we can go on for hours. There is nothing going to be off limits. We try to tie everything into volleyball if all possible. But, like CK brought up his kids in basketball, and I brought up my kids in track, but there's lessons there to be learned to apply to volleyball in the volleyball world. So I really appreciate you guys. You guys know I love you. And
we got some great guests.
We do have great guests coming up.
We have some guests lined up, a bunch in a few guests in the next week or so that I think you'll be very happy to to listen to. So
Big
what
name.
we're asking you to do, because we want to continue this, is first and foremost, hit subscribe. Send this out to all your volleyball people, club teams, colleges, high schools. Let's try to get this podcast, listened to, talked about, so we can, listen to what you guys want us to talk about as well. We're trying to be informative. We talked a little bit about volleyball today with, John Cook retiring. We talked a little bit about college volleyball with the big clash in the Big Ten this weekend at Ohio State.
All the teams on men's side is just exploding. And Bear's awesome coaching job, by the way.
And the learning experience. So there's a lot to cover here. There's so much to talk about. As Sully just said, I think the three of us could, I could probably talk for hours just by myself. They're probably like, oh my God, enough already. But, I'm just so grateful to be here. Keep listening, keep setting the pipe, keep hit subscribe and send it to everyone you know. And, just enjoy the journey. I mean, that's really the last thing I'll say one last time, to reiterate one more time, is with everything you do, just enjoy. The journey is the destination. So enjoy it.
Yeah,
love you all.
All right.
Make the story. Yep.
That's right. Set the pipe, baby.
I said it. It's all about the story.